Hi, we've got some great news for you this week that I'll be releasing shortly. As well as that, the statistics are amazing, so don't go away. So what's the news that I've got for you this week? Well, this really good thing is that I managed to do another masterclass lesson, and that is how to run a properly structured traffic test. And I go through it from the very beginning of baseline data right through to the end of evaluating whether a particular provider is doing a good job for you or not. So you've got to take a look at that. So I've just uploaded that at mcl.club for masterclass lessons. Go there and you'll be able to get access to it. So don't forget to do that because it's actually lesson 11. So if you've already done all 10 lessons, it's okay. There's lesson 11. And this is really aimed more at the, dare I say, the advanced or veteran domain investor. I go into some quite nitty-gritty sort of numbers and that sort of thing. So if you're thinking, oh, gee, do I really need to look at this or not? A lot of the stuff in there is really quite advanced. So I would highly, highly recommend you take a look at it. But yeah, so masterclass lessons, I'll be releasing probably another one in a couple of weeks' time, I'm planning to. And they'll be taking a look at different traffic types and how there's different traffic types. And people get confused about that, such as what's the difference between natural type in traffic versus just natural traffic? That's an interesting question. And it's one I'm going to answer amongst many, many other things. So look at masterclass lessons as something that's just going to be evolving over time. There is one new masterclass I really want to get stuck into, and that is sales, of how to do sales and things like that. So if you're sitting there saying, hey, Michael, I'm really interested in that, then don't forget to go along and say comment, or even just here, make sure you leave so click on that subscribe button, and so you can find out about it when it gets released and all that sort of stuff. So if you're in YouTube, there's a subscribe button down there. Just make sure you click on that. Or if you're Whizbang's blog, you can leave comments and everything, or YouTube, whatever you like. But it always encourages me when I hear back from viewers. So don't be a lurker, be a real viewer, part of a community. Anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at this week's numbers. Okay then. So this week's numbers, I cannot believe that it's week 25 already. So when we look at this week's numbers, and this percentage change in revenue for this particular portfolio we've pulled out, and so it's swinging around a little bit this week, and you can see that in this area here. Now, let's see if I can get my mouse across the other side. And there it is. Yep. Okay, so just this area here, you can see it's just swung around a little bit. So it's not too bad. Like, basically, it's above that 100% line. That's the most important thing, which means we're still in the expansion phase. Okay, so we're looking at the normalized RPM and the RPM. And right now, you can see, if you take a look at the last couple of weeks, the RPM, which is the red line, is really, essentially is flat. The normalized RPM is still coming up, but it's sort of, it could be flattening off as well. So it'll be very interesting to see next week's stats of what's happening. But what has definitely occurred, there's been a step function upwards in these numbers, which is compared to, say, the beginning of June, towards the end of May, actually. But anyway, so it's a good sign to see. Okay, so then we look at the click-through rate. Now, it gets a little bit messy there at the end, and the reason why is because the click-through rate and the earnings per click is sort of almost on top of each other. So I'll just pull them out, and now this is the 14-day moving average. And we can see that the EPC is if you look there, the EPC is the red line, and you see it's been it's relatively stable. Like, it took a big step function up, and it's relatively stable. You could say it's gone down a little bit, but yeah, I don't really know. We'll see in the coming weeks. But CTR has swung up again, which is quite interesting. Like, is that CTR going to continue going up? It's almost like everything took a step function up, and now we're back to our normal trend of going, as CTR goes up, EPC goes a little bit down, and vice versa, and that sort of stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that is the case or not. And that's the part just here that I'm really looking at. Okay, so what's happened to volatility? Now remember, we're comparing this week versus the previous week. So although you can see there's suddenly a dramatic fall just here, it's versus the previous week, which is probably about here, this spike there, and that was a dramatic upward. So it will create some bounciness to these numbers. The thing that I'm interested in is the majority of the data points are above the red line. If they're above the red line, then that's great news. It means we're in an expansion phase. And we're having an expansion phase, which is, and we'll see this in a future chart, it's quite stable in the expansion side of it. So this is the normalized RPM growth from a baseline. This is from a comparison versus June. And we can see there that it's been going up and up and up and up and up. So the overall has been just increasing. So if you're not seeing this, then wow, on your portfolio, then please give me a call. I'd love to have a chat to you about that. Whether you're a customer of ours or not, of ParkLogic, it doesn't worry me. But take a look at this. This is actually really interesting data there. Okay, so what's going on with Google and direct advertisers? You can see here that Google is definitely winning more of the traffic by revenue compared to the direct advertisers. So Google's paying more. That's essentially what that means. Because they're paying more, then that's always a great thing for the domain investor. But the other interesting thing is this, is that direct advertisers are winning more of the traffic. So this suggests that either Google just says, look, we just need to go along and get more, we just want to pay more, but they're paying more, but they're not getting more of the traffic. So this is the whole issue around when you're paying more for a spot price versus paying more for the average price. So they're paying more for the average price, but they may be losing out on the spot prices along the way. So that's great news for direct advertisers. They really surged back into view, as we saw there, and you can see that step up. And the thing I'm waiting for is when COVID begins to recede, and I pray that's going to soon. We got a week and a half left, I think, of stage 4 lockdown here in Melbourne. So I'm looking forward to that all completing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with direct advertisers then. But okay, so take a look at this chart. This is the one I keep on saying I live and die by. This one shows the normalized RPM for Google. It's in blue. And versus the normalized RPM for direct advertisers. Direct advertisers basically are in red there, and they've just flattened out. And you can see that here. It's just flat. My guess would be from these highs up here to the lows down here, that there's some direct advertising companies are really struggling at the moment, and they'll be sort of looking around going, jeepers, this is really tough. Particularly when you've got Google doing this. Google's really ramping up, and they're continuing to do so. I thought they would stop, but they haven't, which has been really, really interesting. So once again, I always like to do this. I like to put it on the same axes now, although we're using the right-hand axes, but you get the idea. And that's Google. It's still playing less, considerably less than direct advertisers, but jeepers, it's getting close there. So if you're a direct advertiser saying, oh my gosh, am I going to be out of the picture here as Google sort of munches into the traffic sources I've been having, then the answer is yes. You better get up and start paying a bit more for the traffic. Okay, so what else we got? So this is the comparison of the last 2 weeks. The reason why I like to do this snapshot of the last 2 weeks is it's taking a look at, I just want to see the trend of, once again, Google's in blue. So Google, you see, slightly trending downwards. Even though there was a big trend upwards, they just actually the last 2 weeks, slightly trending downwards. Well, the direct advertisers are slightly trending upwards. This is a change from the previous week, so it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens here next week, and whether this is going to really swing around and direct advertisers will start to fight back. So, so this is the volatility. And the thing that I noticed about the volatility here is right at the end here, and I know there's lots of data points and it's a bit messy, and I do apologize for that, but it's basically been flat. Like, it bounces around a little bit, but it's basically been flat in terms of expansion versus contraction and so forth like that. So, so it's not too bad. And if we take a look at this though, this is comparison versus January 1. Now, I could have chosen a better date or an average date, the average of January or whatever, but I just decided to put a stake in the sand, January 1. What do direct advertisers look like versus, for the normalized RPM versus Google? And wow. And that's doing that comparison, and it's a percentage comparison. So you can see there that Google is paying about 700% more than January 1st. And look at this down here. It was really smooth. Then COVID really took hold, and it began to get bumpier and everything like that. Bumpiness typically means less people in the market. But then when you get bumpiness and a surge in payouts, it means there's a surge in demand for the traffic, and it's bumpy, which means there's real fights happening in the advertising world right now for the traffic. As distinct from the red line, the direct advertisers, it's sort of bumpy on basically a weekly basis, and it's flattening out, which suggests that there's less advertisers with the direct advertisers, so it's slowing down. That's going to change around. Now, we're heading on the road to Christmas, and the road to Christmas is going to be so interesting. Is this trend going to occur? Continue on, and is it going to keep on moving forward and things like that? And it's something I'm so excited to see. I hope you really enjoy these weekly updates. It's something that, like I said, I look forward to each week doing, because I just want to see what those numbers are and just get a bird's eye view of the industry. Yeah. Now, next week, I'm not going to be doing this at the same time. And the reason why is because I'm going to do it for NamesCon. Now, it happens to be that I'll be up at 1 a.m. in the morning and ready for NamesCon. I'm doing my presentation. And I'm going to review, I'm going to dig more into the data and see if I can get some more information out for NamesCon, which is really going to open up this whole area of monetization. And I'm looking forward to that. So 1 a.m. in the morning, I spend 30 minutes on a presentation, 30 minutes on a panel with some other great guys. And I'm looking forward to that so much. So if you're going to be at NamesCon, please drop me a line. You're sort of saying, Michael, hey, I really like this. I need to get some more information. Matt Herbert's going to be at NamesCon. I think we're going to be changing around, so we sleep during the day and we'll wake at night. I don't know what we're going to do. But I'm looking forward to it and look forward to seeing you all there as well. Thanks a lot for that. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that video and you find them really valuable for your business and helping you make better decisions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or pass the video on to your friends. Anyway, thanks a lot for that. Have a great day. Bye.